Also with AgDairy as well. You see the brochure there. We're associated together. Sarah Youngman is in the back. So if you have any questions at the end, you can see one of us. If you want to get some information from her, we will have information that you can have more than what you have right now. So we want to look at making the most of your farm income. And I know that sounds like a broad term, because we always want to do that. But the fundamental need for every business is to be profitable. And as a dairy farmer, you are a business. You don't ever forget that. You are a business. Yes, it is a way of life, but we have to treat it as a business. Milk and feed prices have increased in volatility and will continue to do so. If you've been keeping track of the markets over the last years, each year it seems like our volatility increases. And when you look at what's been happening so far this year, that's been solidified in your minds. Just look back over the last 2 weeks on barrel cheese price if you follow that. As of today, in the last just a little over 2 weeks, barrel cheese price has fallen 40 1/4 cents. Not an unprecedented fall, but a big fall. And especially at this time of year, when we are heading closer toward the holidays, when normally we would see prices be supported and going higher. So I've been asked that question many times, why is it doing that? And we're not going to go into the milk market so much right now, but we just need to touch on it because, again, like I said, managing that volatility in prices for your commodities, what you produce and what you buy, is as important as managing anything else on the dairy. In the past, with the markets, sometimes it's been an afterthought, but when you're looking at improving cow comfort, you're looking at improving milk quality, you're looking at improving your heifer raising management, or you're taking care or limiting your calf death loss, or anything on the dairy that you want to make as efficient as possible. So managing that volatility in prices for your commodities is as important as any one of those other things that you do on the farm. That's going to be key as we move forward into the future. Because of this price volatility, it gives you good opportunities at times, but it can take away some of those opportunities very quickly. Efficiency is important, and we strive for efficiency on the dairy, but being efficient must be through making the most of your farm's potential income. And we're going to look a little bit differently at what you as a dairy producer can do. We're going to look at the standpoint of okay, we're not working here. This isn't working. Oh, there we go. I have to use that. Okay. Well, now we're going on a timing thing. Is there a cost associated with producing crops to feed the cows? You can very well answer that question. Yes, it is. We have input costs. And your costs that you have are very similar to what grain farmers have. It costs for your machinery to run on that acreage. It costs for inputs, for chemicals. And we'll look at a little bit of that as we go forward. So those costs are the same or similar to the grain farmer. What about any crops that you plant to sell? Many of the dairy producers that I work with plant soybeans, and then they sell the soybeans in order to then maybe sell those to buy back soybean meal. Might feed roasted soybeans. You know, wheat. They'll plant wheat for the straw. They have the wheat to sell. So we're not just looking at crops that strictly the dairy use, but we're looking at protecting that value of those crops. The value of the crop for you as a dairy farmer is just as important as the value of the crop for the grain farmer. You know, many times that's not looked at that way because we plant our crop for that we can feed the cows. And that's how we look at it. And then we buy crop insurance on it because we want to protect that crop, but we don't look at what else we can do as far as a price risk management is concerned, similar to the grain farmer, although a little bit different because you're not selling it to an elevator or a co-op. You're not going to sell futures because you're going to have the crop to sell. You're managing the value of that crop. Because how many years, maybe like this year, the price was a lot higher when you planted, and now maybe it's below the cost of production. So you'd have been better off to buy it and not even plant it, plant something else. I'm just putting that in your mind so it might be a little bit different to shift gears to think about your crop as a value-added asset to your dairy other than just feed. But it's planted for feed. So why not protect it? Why not protect those prices? And I'm not trying to sell you something here. Don't get me wrong. I'm trying to put in your minds of another way that you can add value to your operation. So why not protect those prices when you plant them? I'm going to go through a couple of years here of corn so you can see the patterns, okay? This is 2024 corn. This is this year. And you can see the drop that we had from May to where we had gone by the end of August. Okay, we've had a little bit of a rally now. You see that pattern now, keep that in your mind. When we planted crops, the price was up $4.90, close to $5 on the futures market. The market went down below $4. Okay, lest you think that was an aberration, let's take a look at some of the other ones. Look at December 2023 corn. Very similar, only at a different time frame. And we all know what happened in 2023. We were dry. We thought all was lost. But then we started getting the rains, and what happened? You all know what happened. It was amazing how our crops came back. And so we had near record crops in the U.S., which then caused our price to drop. Okay, that's 2023. Let's look at 2022. Okay, similar, again, different time, not much different because you're looking at it peaked in May. By the end of July, it had dropped, and then we rebounded. But when you look at all three of those we looked at, the magnitude of the drop was about how much? At least $1 a bushel. And then we'll go back to 21. Now this one was a little bit more stable, but if you take a look at May, and then you take a look at fall, September to October, you see the difference in price again. It's about $1. Now, I didn't go back to 2020 because we all know 2020 was COVID and the market did really weird things. But I'm looking back, if you look back more than 2020, you'll see very similar patterns to this unless there was an aberration that happened. Now, what can we do about that? We're not selling the grain. We're going to either ensile it for the cows, or we may harvest as high moisture corn, or drop corn or snaplage, not drop corn, dry corn, or snaplage. Our company has developed an app to help producers to see where they can protect price, okay? And I'm just going to point out a little bit in here, just so you have an idea what I'm looking at. So I'll just walk over here, and here I just used 35,000 bushels of production, okay? And I used 200 acres. Now what I did here, I was being conservative. I don't want to be accused of saying, well, this is 220 bushel corn, you know, and then it inflates our profitability to make us look good. No, I wanted to be something that was more in my location. We're looking at an APH of about 160 maybe, and that's conservative again. Looking at a goal that I set of 175 bushels to the acre. So that's what we're showing here. The reason we have unsold bushels here is because we're not selling any. All we're going to do is protect the price. So when I go in and I put in a cost of $500 an acre. Now, when you're strictly a grain farmer, the costs are a lot higher than that. But with dairy, we have a lot of credits we can take from manure. It's huge. And again, this is going to vary depending on your area and depending on your management practice. And I put in rent here, $200. And this is all based off of 200 acres. I've got chemicals at 45 an acre, fertility at 120, and that's low, but we have a lot of manure that we can put on. Now you have to look in your operation. If you can't quite cover all your land, it's going to be a little bit different. But I took a lot for manure credits, put in seed at 100 an acre, other costs at 35, you know, your fuel, different things in that. I just guessed kind of at that, talking with like my agronomist and stuff. So here we put in our costs on a per acre at 500 with this, and really at this it puts us at a break even at 286. Now that's great for a year like this if you're going to be selling that grain. But what we want to do is we want to protect the value of our crop. That's what we're doing. We're not selling the grain. Now, obviously, if something happened to your cows and you had to get rid of them, you're going to have grain to sell. And maybe that's how you should look at it. But here, we're protecting it. So I'm putting in here the 35,000 bushels, expected basis at minus 55. That's what it is in my area, and I'm in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. 7% interest. Now, the bushel contracts on the CME or CBOT are 5,000 bushels. And that's why this shows 7. So 5,000 is 35,000. Tested contracts at 7. So I did the whole works for you. We want to buy only a put option. And with the strategy of protecting for the dairy producer, that's my strategy, is only a put option. You just want to protect the downside, but you want to leave the upside open in case it goes higher. That's fine. You're going to feed it. So I went to the real correlation here. At 480, I took a price, an option price at 480 at 30 cents. Now, back in May, if you'd have bought a put option, a 480 put option, for December, it would have cost you about 30 cents. 30 cents a bushel. Okay, then you look over here, and I have plugged in different price levels. This is 3.5, 375, 4, 425, 450, 475 a bushel. Okay, we did it at 480 at 30 cents. We're looking at gross profit locked in, profit loss, unprotected value. Now in this case, because we did all of it, and the price went down to these levels, this is going to be our protected profitability on the corn we plant on 200 acres. Almost $40,000. And you're not doing anything else. You're protecting the value. And this is with the 30 cents taken off already. This is what you would have protected. I'm not going to say you made money on it because you're protecting a price. The goal is not to try to make money, you're just trying to protect your price. So when you put that into perspective of the move we had this year, just by buying a put option, leaving yourself real flexible, not looking at selling it to a co-op or elevator, feeding it yourself to your cows, in the end, you would have added nearly $40,000 on 200 acres to your bottom line. Those are real numbers, and it's not speculating, because all you're doing is protecting your price. If you didn't plant any corn and you did that, that would be speculating. But you're just protecting your price. Now, then I ran the same scenario, and I said, let's do a test quantity of 30,000 bushels, not 35,000 bushels. The total bushels we had was 7 contracts, or 35,000. We're test bushels of 6 contracts. Same down here, 480 put at 30 cents. Now we see an unprotected bushel value because you have 5,000 bushels you did not protect. You just decided to do some of it. Then it shows up on here that as the price goes lower, your put option loses a little bit of value because you've got 5,000 bushels not protected with the option. So you're still, in this scenario, you're still making about $32,000 by that strategy, not doing all of it. So we use this app that we have in order to help producers to say, if I produce this much and I buy this put when I plant at this time, and how many puts should I buy, and what could it do to me, for me at different levels. We can change all of these levels. By the year, maybe you only want to go 10 cents between, whatever. This gives you a visual, because a lot of times you can't comprehend that stuff in your mind. You think about it, but you don't comprehend it. You may have an account open and buy the put, and you see a value in your account of those puts that you bought, but it's hard to visualize it and project it into what it actually is. This is it. So we saw on 2024 that large drop we had, and then I did it based on those numbers where we could have done it. And I want to go back to that just so that you, if I can, I'll go back to 24. See, we did a 480, and again, to be conservative, I didn't want to say I picked the top of the market, because you're not going to. I said 480. You can see our line at 480. We spent practically a month above 480. So it gave you ample time somebody could have made that decision. And that's why I wanted to put it in realistically, rather than saying, oh, we did it at 495, because it would have just made us look better. I want to be conservative on everything I do, and if you can do better, that's great. Again, all of this is to protect the price and increase your potential on your farm by doing nothing different than you have right now. You're going to plant your crop, you're going to harvest your crop, you're going to feed your cows, and you're buying an insurance policy. That's really all it is. An option is an insurance policy. So let me switch back over here and go, because many farmers do soybeans, and I want to show you a correlation as well using the soybeans. Now here's November 2024 soybeans. This is what we're dealing with right now. Look at the difference as far as our drop was concerned. You look at March, or May I should say, where our soybean price was. Look at where we went to in August. A big drop. We had a drop of over $2 a bushel. Now, most of the farmers that I work with, they plant the soybeans again as a cash crop in order to help in buying back soybean meal or something like that. So rather than just planting them and saying, okay, I'm going to harvest it and I'm going to take the cash and then I'll use that to buy, same principle. It's just as valuable to you as it is to the one in Illinois or Indiana that all they do is raise the crop. So again, lest you think I just chose this one, let's look at 2023. You see in 2023, we rallied later because of the dry weather, went up to over $14.25. By this time in October, we were down to almost $12.50. Again, another $2 drop. Higher price, but $2 drop. 2022, same comparison. There we started, in June we hit our high, and then by July, we had fallen quite a bit already. What kind of a drop was that? What, a $2.75 drop. We did come back, but even if you look at where we came back to, and if you held that into October, like the time frame we are right now, you're still looking at almost a $2 drop, even though we came back. And let's go back one more to 2021. Same scenario, different kind of price movement, but when you look at the value in May and June to the value in October, again, you've got over $2. That pattern is fairly consistent. There's always aberrations. You can say it's not always going to be that way. We can't say that. But you can see a pattern here. So as a dairy producer, you have the ability to do the same thing. Now here I'm looking at 11,000 bushels of soybeans off of 200 acres. I put the APH and yield goal at 55 bushel to the acre. Our cost is $430 acre, $430 an acre, break even $782. Might sound low to some people, but again, I put in cash rent at $200. Chemicals at $45, fertility at $100, a little lower than the corn. Now that's different because a lot of dairy producers will concentrate their manure on their corn and not on the beans. But again, I wanted to be realistic, and if you have your land base is what you need for your cows and you're planting some soybeans, this is what you would do. Now on my farm, I'm probably a little bit different than other people. I put all my manure on my soybeans, but I don't have a dairy, I have a beef operation, and I grow the soybeans only to take my pasture fields and hay out for a year so I can reestablish them. So I haul manure on mine. You got your seed at 50 an acre, all other costs at 35 again. And here, we look at soybeans, 10,000 bushels. Total bushel contracts we had at 11,000 were 2.2 because they're 5,000 bushel contracts. So I tested 2 contracts, which is 10,000 bushels, because otherwise we'd have been over the amount. plugged in 80-cent basis, which is what we had, 7%. I picked a $12 put, and we'll go back and look at that chart again to see where that was. You could buy a $12 put in the May time frame for the November contract at 52 cents or around 52 cents. Okay, that's a lot of money. But when you put it into context of different price movements, started at 12, 11.75, and 25 cents down to 10.75, you can see that even paying this price, from on 12 down, you can see the line goes down a little up here, the profitability, and that's because we have 2,000 bushels unprotected. But your profit loss, or your profit here, is still over $30,000 on your soybeans you planted, and you did not put yourself at any risk whatsoever other than this cost. If the market would have gone higher, that would have been your cost. But when we look at over the years, when we went through back to 2021, each one of those years would have protected your prices. And that's key to what we're looking at here. In order to improve the profitability on your farm, we need to do all the other stuff. We need to pay attention to cow comfort, veterinarian practices, or practices to keep the vet off the farm, I should say. Ventilation, balancing your rations, all that kind of stuff that you normally do. And this is something that can enhance the bottom line of your farm by really doing very little and not really changing anything you're doing except being a little bit proactive. And that's what we're looking at here. And I want to go back to the 2024 soybean, just so you can see. I did $12 put option. So you can see where the $12 put option, almost identical to corn. It spent about a month above $12. And there again, that's why I wanted to be realistic. We bought a $12 put. We didn't claim to pick the high of the market, but we bought a $12 put. So there's nothing you need to do extra that's going to take time on your dairy that can possibly give you significant rewards. And all it is protecting the value of the crop on your farm. It's a little bit different mindset that you have to think of, but treat it as that way. Treat it as a business. And that's what you really need to do as we move forward because of this heightened volatility. Costs are higher, margins sometimes thinner. And here's an easy way by utilizing the market that's there, not really increasing your workload, protecting your price, and being able to maintain equity or protect equity. So don't put off to tomorrow what needs to be done today. And I know you've heard this many times. Don't do it what needs to be done today. For life is filled with good intentions, and good intentions never get the job done. My wife and I at times have a discussion. She says, well, this really should be done. And I said, well, I'll get at it. And then she says, what year? And I just say, I'll get at it. Again, this kind of speaks to me. Don't put it off. What needs to be done today. Good intentions never get the job done. We may like to see what we saw here, but we might go home and think about it, and by next spring we won't pay any more attention to it, and then we may give up some opportunity to protect the value of what you're doing on your farm. Now, some of you may be, or all of you may be doing crop insurance, and that's basically what this is. You're paying a price for crop insurance at a specific level. This is paying crop insurance, or not crop insurance, price insurance at a specific level. You may be using dairy revenue protection. You may be using forward contracting through the milk plant. You may be using some other strategies for your milk. You may be buying feed when the price might be low. Or you may be buying hand to mouth. Don't put this off. It's something that is there for you. It doesn't take a lot of hoops to jump through. You don't have to go to college for it or whatever. What I explained to you is simply what it is. The past is history. Make the present good and look to a better future. Farmers are eternal optimists. Next year should be better than the last year. And we hear that all the time. I do that. Next year should be better. So we're eternal optimists. So let's look to that better future. Let's be proactive. Let's do what we need to do to manage the profitability on our farm in all aspects, not just one or two, maybe something that we've been used to for quite a while. Let's look at all aspects. If you would like a copy of this presentation, you can scan this. Sarah will have one in the back as well you can scan. Also, you can scan to get a free trial of that app that I was showing you. You'll get a 30-day free trial. Just fill in the information, and then you can have access to that. You have our business cards and brochures. Feel free to call us. That's what we're there for. We want to help farmers. We want you to stay in business so we can stay in business. And that's our goal, and that's our passion. Are there any questions? Hearing none. Thank you for attending. Feel free to talk to either myself or Sarah. Scan the app if you would like, or to get the scan, to get the slide presentation if you'd like to look at it again. Thank you.